Welcome to the panel on monetization strategies for content. Monetization drives revenue, and the drive for revenue, in fact, stabilizes a lot of these trends, sometimes disrupts trends, and many times kills them, right? And it's rather very important for us to understand what kind of monetization strategies are prevailing and what are the trends around these monetization strategies. So just when we look back about 20 years back, we had TV as the only content residence, and all the audience used to flock to the TV there. So the reach was unfragmented, that's what we call, and content has only one residence. So when we fast forward 20 years, we have content proliferating everywhere. We have content residences, many fold more than like one TV out there, more distribution mediums. And then we also have now audiences going everywhere, right? They have many more residences right now. And to add to the complexity, we also have like various forms of monetizing content. You have SVOD, subscription VOD. You have AVOD, which is ad subsidized VOD. And you have FAST, which is basically like completely ad-funded content. And one more layer of complexity to this is the traditional distribution mediums like the standard TV ones. Now we also have the TV OEM platforms coming in. You have a separate OTT platforms coming in, right? And then, so there is a complex landscape out there, and it's very difficult to see what's happening there and what is prevailing and what is not, okay? We have some wonderful panelists here. So we are going to, for the next 40 minutes, I suppose, 38 here, we are going to actually look into what's happening in this space, try to meander our way through it, and then see what is prevailing and what is not, right? And then, of course, as Krishna introduced, we have Vivek. I look at him as like a supply side of things because he comes from the Samsung TV OTT platforms or OEM platform, and we have Vignesh, who represents both the supply side and the demand side, and also the disruption side. Because he's from Jio Ads, and the best laid plans, whatever happens, Jio comes and then they all get shelved. Right? And we have Rajiv out there who represents the demand side of things. He's from Group M. So let's fire it away, right? The first question goes to you, Vignesh.
I thought sitting in the middle will help me not.
No. So we see like SVOD being and AVOD being out there, and most of the markets outside India, SVOD happens to be like 70% of the revenue generation for content guys. And you also have 30% coming from ad revenues or AVOD content. But India is largely a low ARPU market and high volume market, right? And how do you see the trend happening do you see SVOD existing along with AVOD or AVOD taking over? What do you see the content monetization paradigm shifting to?
So I think there is a very clear shift towards AVOD, right? I think if you look at why that's happening, end of the day, I think from an advertising or advertiser perspective, we are looking to make linear TV audiences addressable, right? Whether it's an AVOD or whether it comes to FAST, it's all about how do we make those audiences addressable. I think that's driving the primary growth for FAST and AVOD. Where we see that happening is because, one, I think India is quite diverse, so there is no one single player who can basically develop such a wide content. We saw in the previous slide how content is there, but it's quite diverse. So every player needs to figure out how to monetize it, right? So I think AVOD is, given Indians don't generally like to pay for content, but we are happy to watch the ads, right? We are happy to do that. So I think from that perspective, I think AVOD is growing extremely fast. With the carriers coming in and then distribution becoming a lot more seamless, I think AVOD is definitely on the way up.
And particularly from the Jio Cinema perspective, we just heard like they're giving it things for free. So you would actually, your view is largely that's what starts shrinking down, and AVOD is the market that we are going towards.
Yeah, I think it's also SVOD comes in when I think AVOD, when we overplay AVOD. So I think when there is too much of ad fatigue, people like to go for a subscription-based thing where you don't see the ads now, right? Which I think every other OTT player, including YouTube as well, have an ad-free premium subscription, right? So I think that's the way to go. I think how do you balance and not abuse the system? We'll figure out whether the SVOD growth is going to happen or whether the AVOD growth will continue to go on.
So Vivek, you come from a Samsung TV ad platform or Samsung platform, which is largely ad funded, right? How do you guys perceive the trend in terms of SVOD versus AVOD?
Right. Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
So, when we talk of the consumer lens from the TV perspective, right? So, when we see consumer, the habits are changing. So, like you mentioned, 20 years ago, we were linear dependent. From last 10 years after the 4G revolution, now streaming is dominating the viewing part. So, earlier, if you see the trend and numbers, when 80% was linear, now it is reverse. 80 to 90% is the streaming part. And when we go into streaming part, more and more platforms are coming from the SVOD perspective and AVOD perspective. We have seen clear shift in our consumptions, the viewing hours. People are now encouraging more on the AVOD side and the fast side. If you just see the numbers in the viewing hours pattern, last year it was about 20% or 20 to 5% viewing hours are going on SVOD platforms. Now it has come down to less than 20% and 15% at least on monthly basis. So there is a value people are finding in AVOD, definitely, and how the shift is happening. Contents are being created for AVOD especially, where you can have monetization from the ads. And India being a free-loving country always, whatever comes free, we want to explore and we want to explore it. So we see this trend changing a lot, and the new tech coming like fast, which is a replica of satellite TV when it was on set-top box. That is also biting the pie in there. So we see this trend is shifting from TV perspective, the consumer perspective. As soon as we see more and more penetration of CTVs in the market, which is happening rapidly, we'll see this pattern changing more, and people will be exploring. I'll not say that this SVOD market is diminishing, but yes, there'll be a play for everybody. It will be a hybrid play. It will be more led by AVOD and SVOD.
One example for that will be the airline industry. If you look at it, economy seats are generally the way people get in. And once then you have a premium economy, which is basically around 10% or 5% of the seats, and then the business class is roughly 2%. I think the services will differentiate between SVOD and an AVOD versus in any other premium offering that we want to bring in, and what new acronym we'll give them that time. So I think that will be the differentiation. So I feel like it's mimicking whatever we are seeing in CPG vertical or in an airline industry. I think it's similar. It's becoming very similar to that.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy that you gave. So now that we kind of agreed that its market is moving towards more of an ad funding content, I want to shift gears toward the fast, which is the new trend that's happening. So this is particularly for you, Rajiv, because you actually come from the demand side of things. So we have a proliferation of fast channels, particularly in India and across globe, right? Because for many of you probably fast is like free ad-funded streaming television, right? So you have pretty much every content provider coming in and say like, I want to come up with a fast channel. Everybody is jumping into the bandwagon, right? But from your perspective, right, just walk us through like, what does like a fast channel content providers monetization avenues are right now? So do they work very closely with the OEM platforms, or they work directly with the agencies? Are there any models that is being created? Because the one thing is, of course, like I don't want to touch the other part, is like how do you get yourself noticed in this big pool of fast channels out there? Without touching that part, like what is the journey of fast channel provider? What are the monetization avenues for them? Just walk us through.
Yeah, sure. In fact, just to take cues from both Vivek and Vignesh here, actually fast is actually the AVOD version of streaming, linear television, right? Because you are getting those inbuilt channels without any subscription cost in your smart television, that becomes the AVOD part of the linear content itself, right? Two aspects to that. One, we are seeing the influx of fast, which has actually grown in the last 12 to 18 months. Just to take you a stats around it, and I think we discussed this also. Last year beginning, Samsung had around 60 plus fast channels, which has grown to 150 odd channels now. Jio is comfortably sitting with a 200 plus channels inventory on fast. But the scope is much above that, right? Why? Because the early adopters there has been largely your inventories, which was or channels partnerships, which was largely available on YouTube, which were your news channels and movies and music coming into fast. But I think India is largely a general entertainment and a sports-driven market. So the gap as well as the opportunity is when broadcasters will actually open up their GEC inventory as well as the sports inventories where you actually can scale up. Today, US as a market is the fastest growing market in the fast category. Almost 30-40% of their overall consumption is happening on fast channels. And they actually mirror the same kind of GECs and sports content and it's the same content affinity which even India as a market has. So I'm sure that the gap is pretty high and that's itself is our opportunity over there. Now coming to the monetization part, I think how advertisers see it, right? Now advertisers see it, it's the linear inventory available more programmatically, right, with more sharper targeting, right? So I'm able to go beyond your demography and beyond the NCC's cuts which you typically get. So advertisers feel more excited to see that, okay, I'm getting the same BVOD content here with more sharper targeting. But yes, it's a very small pool of audiences currently available. But I think that differentiation is very vivid. Monetization is actually two parts. Like one is there is an aggregator model and there is direct partnerships which we do with OEMs. But I think from a channel's perspective, I think it's largely when they see as an opportunity to kind of tap into a market which otherwise are moving into cord cutters, and hence they are able to bring them back onto a big screen content again, right? A big screen consumption again. So in that aspect, I think the fast channels as such, which is owned by BVOD, I think they have a good a revenue model coming up across. But as I said, the scalability will happen when the broadcasters open up on the big channels inventory coming up on fast.
So you're essentially saying the current fast channels are going to get augmented in terms of supply inventory when the broadcasters come in and they open up there.
Exactly. So because it's a BVOD content. Now that is one side. The other side is that what is our appetite to kind of bring in content which is not available everywhere, anywhere for that matter. It's not available on the linear side. So there is a lot of content getting consumed in the niche markets. Like for example, I met somebody yesterday who was ready to propagate something very new for India, where it's a tennis channel. Now, largely we consume tennis only on the 4 Grand Slams, but the tennis tournaments are happening throughout the year, and there is a good amount of audience who's particularly watching only there. Now, same goes with those niche sports like your Formula Ones and others, right? So, eventually that's actually moving into a space where you can actually create more and more genres out of it. It could be even a web series which can come with a 17 episode, 20 episode kind of thing, open up there and create your own inventory over there. It could be exclusive to that. It's your originals which can be displayed on your fast channel. So the probability is much more. And whatever we produce, actually, let it be movies or even be fiction, not everything has been a hit. The inventory library which is not being coming on any mainstream is almost 90% of what you see, which you get displayed on any platform.
So I have a follow-up question on that, right? So you essentially said like there are a lot of these genres that will get created specific for the users. Are you not, from the demand side, are you not worried about the fragmentation of the reach, right? That's one concern that advertisers will have, right? If I have 1 million impressions, I need to know where they are. From the demand side, do you see like this also leading to a lot of fragmentation, and what is your coping mechanism around that? So
I think fragmentation is bound when you have a lot of content, right? And I think that's where grouping comes from a different point of view now, that media agnostic planning, because you need to buy an audience, right? Now this audience is actually moving to multiple. They're not anymore loyal to a specific content or a channel aggregator. So you need to go after the audience. You need to actually think media agnostic, medium agnostic, right? In that aspect, if you see, then I don't mind as an advertiser. They don't mind going after a person who's watching from a GC space to something very niche. So you're actually following the journey of the consumer there. The audience there, right? So in that aspect, I think it doesn't matter, right, where you see, but are you able to give the right audience to the advertiser? That is what is matter, and that is coming through all these programmatic aspects, because you're able to give more audience signals, right? So you're able to give them the right signals, the effective way of targeting, and we are able to demonstrate that with delivery as well.
That's interesting. So that I want to segue then into the aggregation part, right? So particularly Vivek, from Samsung side, right? You are essentially creating a supply side inventory of 100 odd fast channels. I think you have more than 100 right now, right? So you're creating a supply side inventory and you're doing an aggregation of all these channels out there. Now, how do you see somebody like a non-traditional player? I would call you as non-traditional because about 10 years back you guys were not there. A non-traditional player like Samsung coming in and creating a platform for 100 plus fast channels and growing and creating supply side inventory. How do you fare yourself with somebody like Airtel, who have an aggregation platform of themselves, like a Tata Play Pinch kind of a thing, or some large OTT platforms trying to put things together? How do you see yourself faring with one another here?
So our responsibility as a biggest screen in a home, we have to provide the best experience to customers, right? And we are doing so worldwide from a longer time, more than a decade now. So earlier the hardware play was related to only picture quality, sound quality kind of thing, right? But when we started serving more to customer, people's expectation is more on hardware side. They want everything built in one. They don't want peripherals, because TVs are getting bigger, more and more attraction for the central hall. So people want better and better experience. I'll give one analogy of a supermarket, right? Let's say if you go in a market and you find 40 odd restaurants of different kind of cuisines. People go and the searchability is, the easiness of access is very less. Yes? So there's too much confusion of finding content, where to go, what to have at that day, and daily you have to go on that supermarket. And then somebody comes with a complete buffet of multiple cuisine, and you go and choose what is best for you, and it provides you a personalized recommended cuisine to you. This is what hardware, all the OEMs have started doing. And there was too much fragmentation in terms of platform going to the telcos or maybe cable DTH industry. Everybody has their own corners. SVOD players was related to their own specific content. Multiple distributions are happening across the apps. User has to go into multiple apps and multiple content. So we took that responsibility. We had to serve our customers in terms of better and better content consumption. We don't want to spend more and more times just searching the content. So we started building this OS and platform where we not only provide the best quality of the content as well as the best content recommendation, whatever they want, as per their choice. That's why the entire aggregation is started. And this is playing a lot. So I was just discussing with Rajesh a couple of years ago. 5 or 10 years back, people were generally tend to spend around 10 to 15 minutes just searching for the content. Now this aggregation platforms are providing better discoverability, and now this time has reduced. So you are looking directly to your content, what you want. That is the ease of access, and this is all the Gen AI, new era will evolve that. Now this problem everybody is solving, even the telcos, like you named a few, cable TV provider, everybody is solving that problem. Kudos to everyone. But the basic thing is you need a big screen, and consumer wants all the experience in one. Again, we have seen some trends in our television, especially the cord cutters that you mentioned that. around 30% people, they are not going into any peripheral connected to TV because they're getting everything, all the experiences in your TVs. So cord cutting is increasing. We have obligation to provide the entire experience. We can't say, okay, we can't provide linear channels, we can't provide YouTube content or whatever. So we have to provide all the aggregation content. That is one. Second, the benefit, the play where we play is not only the set-top box content as well as the OTTs. So it's a mixture of all, and we see the hardware consumption is more, and the peripheral consumption going down on all the attached devices. So we see this.
Okay, that's interesting because the way I view it, probably Vignesh, I want you to comment on that, my observation here. Whoever owns the aggregation platform or the supply side would probably get the bigger piece of the monetization revenue, right, in some ways. I want to see from wearing the geo hat, not the geo ads hat, from the telco side, how do you see from the telcos also coming in the aggregation? How do you see this market playing out in say like a couple of years down the line?
So I think when we spoke of aggregation, we're only referring to supply side aggregation. But I think there is an equally importance in terms of audience aggregation, the data side of aggregation, right? Whether you call it CTV, OTT, etc., everything has become very data driven, right? It's as we discussed, we are just going where the consumer is actually consuming the content. The devices are changing, and obviously the kind of apps and the kind of devices, whether it's a screen or whether it's an app, whether it's a tab, etc., that's changing. But I think while supply always seems to come to the forefront, and obviously as we are a large market with diverse languages, linguistics play a big role. So there is bound to be huge fragmentation of the market, like what you said. But however, we are only looking at supply side. Audience is actually equally important. For example, for an advertiser to go to, say, a small player at, say, one small player, OTT player in Odisha, and talk to them for a small audience pool which might be less than 5% of his overall spend, it's too much, right? It's too much of an effort to do it. So I think as the fragmentation increases, the aggregators, not just from a supply side aggregation, but from an audience aggregation, I think has become super important, right? We work with Rajiv as well quite closely. I think from a geo perspective, we believe that the future is going to be guided by how much you know your audience better and how are you able to tailor them. The medium just becomes a way for us to get to the right audience at the right time. But data aggregation is something that I think plays a key role. We work with all the OTTs, including Samsung as well, we work with them, right? So the choice of where the audience is, and as you said, audiences are very fickle. Today we might want to watch an app, I might switch to a device, to a screen, to a tab within an hour, right? We might choose multiple devices. So we are quite agnostic to where the content is being played, I think has become secondary. Quite agnostic to that. The key value that we are trying to deliver to the advertiser has always been about, can we reach out to the right audience at the right time in the right ecosystem, right? So that's our premise to the advertiser.
Yeah, that's actually right, because like the data is essentially what drives the monetization.
Correct.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So from the demand side, Rajiv, so you have the OTT platforms which have a lot of premium content in there. They need a lot of data. And you also have fast channels who are also probably, rightfully you said at the beginning, they work with OEM platforms like Samsung, probably they might actually directly deal with advertisers as well. Do you see in terms of the tech that's available there, that the fast channels versus AVOD, who provide you the best data and what kind of tech that they deploy? How do they differentiate themselves between the fast channels and the OTT premium platforms?
Yes, absolutely. Because let's stick to first the OEM partner. They are the one who actually owns both the hardware and the software. Right. The moment you have that, then you are actually getting an entire journey of the consumer, right? Because you own it from where the consumer is tracking. You own it from where you're displaying your content. So you are actually getting the entire journey together. So the power of OEMs when it comes to tracking it, it's pretty interesting. And that's why like Samsungs and LGs, all the leading OEMs are actually driving their own technology to understand what kind of audience crawling happens.
So essentially what you're saying, the OEM platforms can provide a lot more data as opposed to OTT platforms on their own.
Right, because OEM is actually giving you a consolidated view on the smart television. Now, OTT is restricted to the only OTT consumption part of it, right? But that's the first party data also, which is something which OTTs are able to provide. So there are two use cases to it. What I'm saying is that OEMs can give a lot more audience insights in terms of understanding the consumption, content and everything. They're able to differentiate that into various buckets, cohorts. Now, OTTs, what they do is also something very similar, right? But when it comes to a household viewing, I think OEM has definitely an added advantage over there in that aspect. So all the fast channels, I think in that aspect, I think we'll have a slightly more edge when it comes to the audience targeting lens. One more added, I think it's an ecosystem. I think it's symbiotic in one nature, because in India specifically, all the OTTs are actually AVODs, which is owned by the same broadcasting networks, right? And they're the ones who actually have to help us to kind of move into fast as well. And when they open up into fast, there's a totally new audience insights which comes through that as well. So it's a symbiotic relationship. It's not a competition like OEM will have to rest separately, OTT has to rest separately. It's a symbiotic environment rather than competition in that manner.
And the follow-up question to that is, because the data availability is a lot more on the OEM platforms versus the OTT platform, or the fast channel for that matter, on their own, right? Do you see a CPM chasm between, say, like a OTT platform, OEM platform versus what happens when I say CPM chasm? Is there a difference in CPM numbers that somebody derives from pure fast channel versus being part of an OEM platform?
So the thumb rule is that the more you go into a refined level of targeting, obviously there is a surcharge, right? That's a thumb rule which we all see in media. How much of that is getting implemented is something which we all know the fact, right? Because it's largely driven by advertising need from the clients. But the thumb rule is obviously that, yes, they are the ones who is actually able to give more audience insights. Obviously there should be a premium surcharge to that, right? That's something which it's not something which we can run away from. Similarly, when it comes to like non-programmatic inventory like IPLs and impacts also, the reason why they know that they have a captivated audience over there, right, which they can definitely deliver to. So that's why they are able to give that premium over there. So yeah.
So Vignesh, this goes to you, right? Now that we are moving away from aggregation, I also want to understand, like, in terms of driving user engagement, which leads to better monetization, what do you see the tech that the fast channels or OTT platforms or OEM platforms need to put in place to drive more user engagement, leading to more monetization, or in general to have a better monetization in terms of tech?
I think one is that while we talk about tech, I think there is a cost of tech as well. I think we just discussed with Bharat also brought out, right? I think that's one big use case. I think when in my previous roles as well, we were exploring, and Krishna himself was there, has been there trying to figure out how to bring down the cost of streaming, etc. Right? I think that was his PhD, if I'm not wrong, right? How do you ensure that? I don't think tech is a challenge, but I think what is the cost of the tech is, I think, another one. Given that you yourself said that we are a market which is extremely low in terms of ARPUs, right? So how do you make it scalable? How do you make it available? That's one. Second thing is that second point that I think we have brought out also is that data is the key for monetization. Not just content alone, I don't think is sufficient enough to drive unless the content is viral or the content is basically delivers scale, right? If you're not driving scale, then I think the depth of your data insights will give you the premium that's going to get. From a tech infrastructure point, I think it's been a case that we have seen across multiple things, that the cost of the tech, I think, is going to be the key. And how quickly can you deploy it, because speed to market is the second aspect of it. And third part is that how well is the tech already integrated into existing monetization channels already, right? I think that's important. because the moment the tech comes up, the first thing you want to do is the dollars coming in. How quickly is the tech connected to programmatic ecosystem so that you are actually able to realize dollars from the get-go, right? I think 2 or 3 aspects that are, I think, still work in progress. I think we are seeing progress on in terms of multiple use cases. Even with Jio ourselves, we are basically providing a platform for OTT. Anyone who wants to launch their own OTT as well, right? Even Airtel does that, and multiple other people are doing that. So I think more players in this space will basically give rise to, I think, lot more features, adoption, and the cost coming down. So yeah.
So Vivek, from your perspective, because you also provide an OEM platform for fast channels, is there some kind of a tech that you provide for the fast channel onboarding so that there is a lot more user engagement? Or do you mandate certain things for fast channels to start implementing for them to derive a lot more ad revenue?
Yep. So I'll go with the Bharat's presentation and last couple of slides, and the final takeout was the P0, searchability and recommendation, which is what the next action item for any tech. Because there's a lot of content, lot of sources of the content, and we are the country where we have 800 plus channels. What I want to watch, whatever mood I am in, and how we are serving the users in a home. Because when we talk about TV, obviously there are at least 4 members of it. A kid wants to watch his channel, a parents wants to watch his channel, female wants to watch their channel. So everybody we have to serve from a TV perspective. So the search and recommendation is the biggest tech which we are seeing as a next investment point of view. The second is on the ad tech side. So ad tech side, yes, traditionally we are the video ad provider, or maybe video ad experience oriented fast service. Now we want to more add into the gamification and interactivity into the ads. That will give more engagement towards ads. Currently ads is just a brand representation.
Just brand messaging, that's what you're saying, right?
Now interactivity can be a more investment towards the ad tech side, where we see when you're watching an ad, you can play and you can see like a car ad, right? You can see what are the other models, how it looks from the left side, how it looks from the right side. That kind of interactivity will play in going forward. So these 2 areas I see in the next 3 to 4 years with the next tech drivers.
Do you mind me adding to this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the way Vignesh rightly framed it, right? Every tech requires an investment. And what Vivek spoke about, I think the way to connect back is with the demand. And the demand is here is that how are you solving a business challenge of a client, right? Now I was just thinking while he was speaking, like right now, connected TV, addressable TV largely is the top funnel, right? You are there as a branding metrics. But here, when you bring in interactivity, when you bring in more tech inventions, you are actually bringing a full funnel conversation to the client, right? And that actually opens up the base on the dollars which we are all talking about, right? So the tech interventions has to be with a mindset of which business solution we are going and what is the pool of that. The moment you have that, like interactivity here is absolutely a bang on because there is no ROAS on connected TV yet, right? It's not derived,
Yeah.
right? Now, if you are able to captivate that, I think that's a gold mine, right? In fact, even it gives you confidence for advertisers to kind of put in more ad budgets to that. So I think
that's a very interesting point, right? Now, going to the final conclusion in terms of our discussion before we open up to the audience. The advertising dollars are tied up to the user engagement or presence of the audience, right? Now, these advertising dollars are also being shifted to, say, something like beyond content, which is like a retail media, right? Vignesh works on some of that, right? Where retail media advertising is actually picking up quite a bit, right? You have quick commerce where you have some Amazons of the world or even Walmarts of the world. You actually go there while you're searching for a particular product, you have the product advertisements coming in there. A lot of shift of dollars is also going there, right? in your view, Vignesh, so what are the threats for some of, I won't say call it threats, what are the difficulties you see for the content guys to actually retain these advertising dollars before the shift happens to more of these retail media?
So I think, I don't think it's a threat. I think I actually will open up another stream of revenue for, simply because I think like retail media is obviously here to stay, right? It is a new performance ecosystem for us, right? Ultimately, while retail will have the data, we'll ultimately have to talk to the user wherever he is actually there right now. So if his attention while he is, for example, let's take an example, right? That might be easier to correct than just the theory. Let's assume, I'll take an example of, say, a consumer on Agio, right? Say consumer of Agio is there, and then basically he's coming in, browsing the catalog, adding to cart, but he doesn't do anything, he goes out. Now, obviously how I'm going to drive ROAS is basically to show how do I try to get a sale for the brand, right? Now, I have to follow wherever the user is and then remind him that, hey, you know what, how do I get him to complete the purchase, right? Now, if it is on an OTT, it actually is even better because the attention is there. I mean, so OTT then becomes a channel for me to reach out to him. So I think traditionally, as Rajiv said, only the branding money was getting into OTT. With retail, I think the performance revenue also will come into OTTs. I think that's going to be a huge shift. I think it's going to be symbiotic now. I think they will live off each other, and I think that's going to be the new dollar exchange between these two ecosystems.
On that fantastic note, that symbiotic relationship, I want to see if there are any questions from the audience for the panel. Yeah.
Content to commerce is the next big thing which is happening.
If it's okay, can you actually introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Avinash. I head Dangal TV. My question is, content to commerce is the next big thing which is happening in our industry, in our ecosystem. Do you see this as a threat to the advertisement world?
That's my same question that I've asked.
I think we should go straight to demand first.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, if you consider, and I think Prasad did touch upon, like Amazon and as well as Jio are two unique platforms because they are the content aggregator as well as they have rich retail media data. Now the power of what you call the influence comes in when you are able to manage or marry these two together, right? So that tracks the entire consumer journey, that you displayed an ad on television and the same household you are able to track that what has been the shoppable or what has been the intent or what has been the behavior, the purchasing behavior of that particular household. I think that actually, that's exactly what all advertisers needs to know now. If I'm spending 1 rupee on my media, is that translating to any amount of sales? Rather than you giving me probabilistic data, is there a deterministic, proper giving me a code saying that, okay, this much conversion is happening? I think every media or every conversation today we are facing, even there's no traditional client anymore, right? There used to be a time where there used to be traditional client and digital savvy clients. Now every clients are asking the same thing on every media for that matter. So I think the content to what you call the deployment will become, and whatever deployment media you have into quick commerce or e-commerce or shoppable data, trade outlets data, I think that will be immense importance. I hope I answered, or did I complicate? No.
Hi. Okay.
Can you please pass on the mic to the gentleman there?
So I already have.
Oh, okay.
So first of all, a brilliant panel. So we have people from supply side, we have people from demand side. One leg was missing, which was content, and I'm here. So the point is, my question is to all three of you, because you interact with each other. So when will content guy will start making money from fast?
Let's start with Rajiv, always. He's the dollars guy.
See, I told it's the content provider, right? Now it's the same ecosystem. You are being part of an ad monetization platform when you do indulge into an. I'll give an example, okay? And with the stat, today we're talking about content aggregators in fast getting aggregated on smart TVs. 45% of the market is managed by the organized sectors like your Samsungs, LGs, Xiaomi's of the world. There's a 55% of the market which is largely driven by unorganized smart television players. Now, this is an untapped market, right? That 55% includes your local manufacturers, that includes your manufacturers which have a very small base. Imagine if they are able to consolidate, aggregate that entire pool of inventory. And these are the players who are actually being seen outside metros. We are seeing those, what you call, a trickle of impressions and reach coming from emerging markets, which we call as Secunderabad, your Trivandrum, your Gautam Buddha Nagar, Kanchipuram. So these are markets where there is actually adoption happening now. Now imagine if the content provider of this particular region is able to focus there and able to monetize that on a national platform, right? Because you are able to reach out to a national advertiser and monetize that programmatically. I think these are amazing opportunities around there. But yes, to your thing, there will be a rev share model mostly with any OEM, so that's where you need to play around with your commercials a bit. Sorry?
What you're saying is right, but that's not the answer I'm looking at. That probably is the answer to some other question. My question is very, very simple. We have traffic. Look, I'm a content provider. Jio is a national platform. Samsung is a national platform. People are watching on them. What we hear from platforms like this, CPMs are low in India. Okay? Now, who will offer the CPM? The guy like you. They will basically say, we have this much traffic and you will pay them for the traffic, right? So when will start content provider? Content provider can bring in the audience that they are bringing. The point is CPM in India are way too low. When they will see upswings, when they will see higher fill rates, so that content provider can actually make money out of it.
So I understand. So I think the market is transitioning towards a steady state, and I think we are in a flux right now. That's
eventually long term it will happen, and we all say long term we all are dead. So, and that's what we are seeing, so much consolidation is happening on various platforms. And
very true.
And Abhi very nicely pointed out that content providers are not making money, even OTT platforms are not making money. So it's a monetization panel. So that's a question about monetization. One simple question.
So I think typically India has not been a market where people are ready to pay for content is one side and then data is another, right? India has not been a market where we are only looking at, when you go to an advertiser, it's a flat CPM. Itna CPM chahiye. There is no differentiation between what you pay for insights and data and targeting and measurement, etc., versus what you're paying for the content, right? It has not been a market which has been paying. For example, if you go to any advertiser or if you talk to anybody who's in the space where they have run a DMP or anything, they don't make money because CPMs are already so low. Who wants to pay more than double if CPM is say 80 cents or $1, nobody wants to pay more than that for the data.
So this goes to your tech cost as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They all reflect on tech cost.
Exactly, right. So I think, sorry, just to conclude, Prasad, I think that there is a definite stream, right? So when we work with, hopefully we are working with you as well, right? Our objective is to engage with demand side clients, and we basically educate them in terms of what is the value of the data and what is that we are trying to deliver. So that is work in progress. I'll be honest about it. That is work in progress, and that's how we're doing it. So part one is education, that the data is available, because it's not uniform as well, right? Some providers are able to provide more, some providers nothing, and there is education required on the players as well in terms of how do you figure out what is the right tech, what is the right kind of data you are able to assimilate, and how do you generate insights from that and then showcase it to an advertiser who will be ready to pay more is a journey, right? But I think we have made a promising start, to be honest. From a geo ads perspective, definitely I think we are trying to or we have been able to make that effort in terms of getting the brand to recognize the value of the audiences, number one, right? I think that's very important, and which in turn will drive more value to you, but I think it's a work in progress for sure.
So I think we overran the time. We'll take the last question from this gentleman.
Yeah, I'm Shalibhadra from ABC Talkies. So you said that, ARPU is very low in India, right?
If I compare it to...
no, I understand. I accept it also.
Yeah.
I accept it. The point is, either it's SVOD or it's AVOD. You watching free content, you are on AVOD. You're watching premium, you are on SVOD. But as a user, I might have a different pay capacity, right? I cannot afford a premium of Geo at whatever the price it is. Let's say 189 rupees, okay, for my family. But I'm willing to pay 100. So have you ever considered giving a variable SVOD plan where, if I take a lower plan, I will get less ads, but I will have to still see ads. You're still getting some revenue from the user instead of getting no revenue by playing ads, but you're still getting a revenue.
But that's already there right now. I think we have so many multiple plans going out. I
think mostly you have the premium plan which says single user, 2 users, 4 devices or something, but
I think the permutation combinations on plans is quite extensive. I think depending on how many OTTs you want to choose and how many devices you want to choose, I think there is permutation combination
Absolutely.
in terms of multiple plans that are already there.
In fact, I'll give you an example.
I'm not talking from that perspective. I'm talking from the ads perspective. I want to see less ads, I'll pay a less subscription fee. I want to see more ads, I'll still go lower on the subscription fee.
Can I? Yeah, it's already there. So for example, I'll take an example of one OTT platform here for, let's say Hotstar, right? They have 4 or 5 different levels of subscription plans. It starts with free, where you are, any content you watch, you are served an ad. And then there is a next level which is called a VIP or a super. There are 2-3 levels. So the more and more you export to certain content, like the premium is only where only sports is targeted. Rest all content you don't get any ad. Right? So there are 2-3 variants, subscription models already available with most of the OTTs. But that depends also from the demand from the subscriber, right? Do they need in such a model, right? So JioCinema has launched something similar, right? They launched during IPL a small pack of 29 rupees only. Why? They started primarily because to have access to their premium Hollywood content, which they have recently procured for. So I think it's a test and learn model, which when there is a demand, they will open up for sure. It's already there.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And it was a fantastic discussion. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I request everyone to just stay back for a minute. Thank you so much for this engaging discussion. Like I said, this is a topic which touches both our hearts and our wallets. So I am pretty sure there are hundreds of more questions. There is a tea break coming up. There are a couple of tea breaks, lunch breaks. So please feel free to take this offline as well. On behalf of OTTverse, we'd like to offer a small token of our appreciation. Thank you, Prasad. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Rajiv. And big thank you to Vignesh. Thanks everyone. Okay, next up, before the next session, we'd like to thank and highlight our silver sponsor, Yup TV, for placing their trust in us. Thank you, Yup TV. Can we have the video, please?
For 18 years, Yup TV has been at the forefront of the OTT revolution, delivering exceptional content experiences across the globe. Now, we're taking it a step further, using our expertise to empower telcos, DTH broadcasters, and content creators to launch their OTT platforms through YVS, Yup Video Services. YVS offers an end-to-end, white-labeled OTT solution, providing everything you need to launch your own OTT platform. From content management to VOD, live TV, catch-up TV, and more, our platform is fully customizable to reflect your brand's identity. With features like advanced video analytics, DRM security, invisible watermarking, billing, and subscriber management, YVS is the ultimate solution for your OTT journey. Introducing Janaya Cloud Playout, an AI-powered cloud playout solution designed for fast aggregators and broadcasters. With AI-generated playlists, cloud news integration, 24/7 playout capabilities, and seamless video clipping and editing, Janaya enables you to manage your channels effortlessly. Elevate your broadcasting experience with AI-driven efficiency, scalability, and flexibility. Take control of your content with Videograph, our advanced video analytics solution. Gain detailed insights into user engagement, playback quality, and performance across multiple platforms. With over 80+ metrics captured in real time, Videograph empowers you to make data-driven decisions, optimize content delivery, and provide an exceptional viewing experience. Maximize your revenue with our monetization solutions, including client-side, CSAI, and server-side ad insertions, SSAI. Whether you're a fast aggregator or an OTT provider, our platform enables you to integrate ads seamlessly, ensuring a smooth user experience while optimizing ad revenue. Enhance user engagement with MyRico, our AI-driven content recommendation engine. Using advanced algorithms, MyRico offers personalized content suggestions based on user preferences, viewing patterns, and behavior. From individual to mass personalization, MyRico ensures each user enjoys a unique and enriched experience, keeping them engaged with your platform. Yup TV's unparalleled experience, cutting-edge technology, and AI-driven solutions are here to transform your OTT experience. Join us today, and let's build the future of streaming together with Yup Video Services.
Thank you so much, Yup TV, for being a sponsor. I request everyone to head out through one of the exits for a tea break. Let's assemble here in 15 minutes. We are running behind schedule, as you might have already seen. We have several exciting discussions and panels coming up. So please be here in 15 minutes for the next talk. Thank you.